Hey everybody, it's Zypic, and welcome back to another Rust video. And today we're going to be going over a new base build. This one uses the elements of all of my best bases, and it combines all of them to create a triangle, floor-stacked stability bunker. The base is insanely strong, costing approximately 27 to 50 rockets just to get to the TC. And with all of that said, let me introduce you to the Compactor. A small yet insanely strong base for a duo, trio, or quad group. The base's strong points include the floor stacking, a stability bunker without the use of any raised foundations, and even though the base is a very small layout, it can still comfortably fit 35 large boxes in the top and bottom floor. Let's get right into a raid test, the tour, and finally I'll show you guys how to build the base. One of the most common ways to raid a base like this is by drilling down through the top. So we'll send 8 rockets onto the main 6 triangles guarding our top floor. At this point, the raider should be very concerned after noticing the second layer of floor stacking. If the raider decides to continue, it will be another 8 rockets to open up the first section of our loot rooms. So far, we only have access to the large boxes in each bedroom, but I figured that the easiest way would be to get rid of all of these stone frames in order to open up the second floor so we can begin drilling down into the bunker. While we break through the metal and HQM triangles using 23 rockets to get to our bunker, I want to mention that the cost through any side to get to any bunker wall will be 27 rockets, and the door cost is approximately 50, that is of course with the stability bunker sealed up. With the armored floor now broken, we can head down into the bunker, and you guys will see the TC still hidden behind our glass reinforced window, so adding another 4 rockets to break the window, we have 49 rockets drilling through the top. Heading up to the front door of our base, you guys can see we get our first single airlock. The door swings out, opposing as a second front door if the first one is broken. We're going to head up our furnace crouch jump, and also note that there's an armored wall guarding the honeycomb to our main loot. We can open up the next garage door, and also head up to our roof access. The drop down is guarded by shotgun traps, and you can also see how much room there is to expand. We'll head back down and open up the next garage door. You can see we get access to a repair bench, and the research table is now fully exposed. Behind the repair bench and a low wall, we get access to 3 more furnaces. If we follow the garage door path, we will soon run into our first Dropbox loot room. It's 4 large boxes and 3 small boxes worth of space. Through the next 2 garage doors, we will now find the corridor to our bedrooms. The middle door will avoid any raiders using Splash to open up both bedrooms at the same time with rockets. Opening up both doors, you'll see we get a bed, a large box, and a furnace in each room. Past that door, we have another 4-box loot room on each side. I should mention that all upstairs loot rooms are only 12 rockets away from the outside, so if you want to store anything valuable up here, you should definitely honeycomb with metal instead of stone on the outer layer. Finally, let's open up the garage door to get down to our hatches. Here, if the raider did not already blow down through the roof, the floor stacking will be visible, with a second ladder hatch hiding right underneath the first. If the raider thinks that this is the easy way down, they are mistaken, since right below these ladder hatches is our stability bunker. Notice that there's no raised foundations when we open up the bunker. This is because of the floor stacking, and we'll go over this in just a little while. For now, we can continue on through the garage doors right behind us. Opening up the garage door on our left, we now have access to the tier 3, and now we can open up both garage doors to get full access to all 8 large boxes and the TC. Removing the glass window, we can now see inside our TC. The upkeep to the base is on the screen now. With all that said, let's get right into the base build. We're going to begin with a quick floor stacking tutorial. Place in 2 squares with a vehicle ramp on top of 1. Now grab yourself a small box and place it exactly where I show you guys in the video. For anyone who hasn't seen floor stacking before, I recommend you go watch some videos, or I'll even link my tutorial in the top right corner. You guys should definitely go watch that if you're planning to build this on a vanilla server. I want to give a big thank you to Evil Worst for making up this floor stacking technique. Using the vehicle ramp, we will guarantee that this technique will work on any type of terrain. Make sure once you place in your first triangle foundation that you do not move your player's orientation whatsoever. If it helps, you can pick up the mouse off your table. We will only use the key D to move to the right until the foundation comes up as blue. The 2 triangles should be colliding, however they should not be connected. You can test this by placing in 2 walls on top of either triangle. Then you can use triangle roof pieces to make sure that the roof stacking will work. You should be able to place in the bottom layer first, followed by the top one. After we have our 2 triangles set up, we're going to go on the lower one and build off 6 triangles in a circle pattern. Add 1 more triangle next to the raised one, and then finish off the pattern by building another raised triangle right next to it. And this will eventually be our drop down chute. Before we begin upgrading, it's very important that you make sure you can place in all of the walls on top of the raised foundations. Sometimes they will come up as red, so look out for this in advance. We can now begin to build our starter base. Start by upgrading all of our foundations to stone. We can then place in door frames and only make them wood since we'll be picking them out later on. Next we can add in stone walls surrounding all of our lower foundations. If you ever need to see the build cost, it will always be on the right hand side of your screen. Notice that I placed this wall backwards since I'm thinking about the honeycomb later on, but actually this is wrong and I'll flip it in just a minute. To avoid anyone picking these raised foundations, we're going to go ahead and seal them off with honeycomb and an airlock. We can now head inside and build a half wall to get up to our roof. We're going to build in the lower level of our floor stacking. Don't place in the second level of the floor stacking just yet, since it'll make building in the second floor really difficult later on. We're going to upgrade all of the triangle roof pieces above our circle to stone, and only upgrade this triangle to wood, since we'll also be picking it out when we replace it for our drop down chute. We can now add doors and finish up our starter base. Don't forget to add in the TC on the small triangle which goes off of our circle base. In front of the TC you can either use a window or double door frame. It's very important that you guys place in these frames and the wall. However, other than that, I'll just give you guys an example of what I did with the space. And while I finish up building the starter base, I want to say thank you guys all so much for the recent support. The channel's been doing really well and I'm hoping to get the upload schedule back up and running. And I'm back from my vacation so I can start working on new base designs with all the Rust updates coming out. And if you guys are interested in the building scene and you want to see some more of my designs coming out very soon, definitely consider subscribing. It's only 1 click and it helps me out quite a bit. With all that said, let's continue on. With the starter now complete, we can begin upgrading everything to its final grade, so I will expect that from now on you will have enough to upgrade the entire base. The build cost will be in the description of this video. Obviously we do use quite a bit of HQM in the build, and I know people are going to complain about the amount that I used, so don't worry too much if you don't have all of it. It's just a recommended amount, and over the course of the wipe you can upgrade everything to high quality metal. Any triangle foundations that you can see from the outside of the base should definitely be upgraded first to HQM. Whenever you guys are ready, we can go ahead and complete the drop down chute by picking out all of our wooden door frames. Again, remember to upgrade the foundations of our drop down to HQM. We'll go ahead and make a temporary way up to our roof for now using twig, but don't upgrade it since we'll be picking it out for our stability bunker later on. We can now build a new drop down hatch and place in a garage door or double door if you don't have garage doors just yet. Either way, this is the second version of the starter base. Also, don't forget to go outside and upgrade all of the walls around the TC as well as the foundation. If you don't have a lot of HQM other than the outside foundations, you should also prioritize the TC triangle. Now let's honeycomb our drop down chute with metal walls. We can now continue off of the raised foundations and build the outer shell of the base. After you're done building all around, you can remove any triangles that aren't directly touching our bunker. You can finally add in this triangle where our airlock will be. Next up, we're going to go around and upgrade all of the outside triangles to metal. And now we can begin our second layer of honeycomb. Use metal walls to cover up any portions of the bunker that you can see from the outside. Once you've surrounded the entire base like this, we can also upgrade one more wall to HQM, which will be next to our airlock. Next up, we can build all of our door frames out of stone and make our way up to our second floor. We can just use a furnace, or if you guys have it, you guys can use a ladder hatch or just a ladder. Anything to get up to your second floor will work. Next up, let's go around the outside of our base and surround everything with stone walls. Next up, we're going to add the bottom layer of the roof pieces to all of our bunker honeycomb. We can upgrade all of these pieces to metal. I forgot to upgrade the roof piece above my TC, and this should have been done earlier on, but make sure this is upgraded to HQM as well. You're only able to place in the top layer of roof stacking on all of the outer honeycomb, so we're going to do that now with stone. Next up, let's add in all of our door frames leading out from our front door. Notice that you may need to look slightly up or down to get frames and walls into place. And at this point, we can also start placing in the main walls to our bedrooms and loot rooms. I would recommend upgrading all of these to metal if possible. And you guys can choose to upgrade your frames to either metal or stone. Remember, if you upgrade them to metal, they'll be less likely to be splashed if a raider raids you from the top down. We can also build in all the floor tiles for our boxes to sit on in our Dropbox loot room and main loot rooms later on. Let's now begin to fill in all of the outside stone honeycomb. Also, we can add our crouch jump up onto the roof floor. And just like we did with the last floor, we can now place in all of the top layers to the outside honeycomb. I accidentally sealed off my roof access, but don't worry, I will remove it very soon. Just remember not to seal it off if you guys build the base. Other than the triangles covering the first two airlocks, we're going to upgrade all of the bottom floor tiles to metal. Notice that I wanted to floor stack this open triangle, however, since it was on a raised foundation, I was unable to do it, so I had to go down below inside and place it through the wall. You guys will probably have to do the same thing, but it's definitely a smart decision to do since it eliminates the weak point in the drop down. And now again, we can upgrade all of the top triangles to metal, or if you guys would rather, you can upgrade them to stone instead, since really it is the same cost just to go through the wall. It's completely personal preference. Choose which ones you feel are weak points and which ones you feel need to be stronger. We can now build in the roof access drop down and add in a garage door defending it, as well as 2 shotgun traps. Going through the first few doors, you can see I add in garage doors. Notice that the last one I placed with the roller facing inside. You'll see that the roller would go through the roof if it was on the other way, and you need to make sure it's facing in so you can always see and have access to the roller to close the door. We can now add in the triangle slot to place in our furnaces. And we can just seal this off with a low wall. Now we can place in 2 triangle roof frames for our drop down, and very quickly we will put in our triangle ladder hatches. We can also fill in the last half wall for our bunker. Then you guys can put in the last 2 tiles for our boxes to sit on. We can add in a furnace below the crouch jump to make sure we can seal off the bunker, and finally add in the 2 ladder hatches. Next up, let's go ahead and add in all of the garage doors on the upper floor. Note that you can replace doors if they're broken in a potential raid, however you won't be able to replace them on the same floor that you're standing on. For example, if you want to replace doors on the 2nd floor, you'll have to go down in the bunker and place them through the roof. You can see I've began to place in all of the 2nd layer of our flooring. Anything that covers a metal triangle should be stone on top, and anything that covers armored should be metal. I'm not going to torture you guys and make you watch me build each individual loot room, so we'll go ahead and skip through that part and just show you guys the final result. Of course, repeat the same steps for our bedrooms. We can now place in our furnace, large box, and bed. Try to get the furnace and large box as flush up against the wall as possible when you're building it. Notice that I was not able to place in the bed because some small boxes were getting in the way. You guys can remove these and place them in afterwards, which might be a little bit easier when building. And here is what a complete bedroom should look like. And now with the magic of editing, we can go ahead and do that on the other side as well. Next up, let's add in our repair bench, 2 small boxes, our research table, and also 1 large box. At this point, the upstairs floor is completely up to you. You can add in furnaces, large boxes, or lockers wherever you'd like or wherever you find space. Let's head downstairs and continue on with the build. We can add in the last few garage doors as well as our tier 3 workbench. Place it facing the backwards wall. That way when you flip it around, it will become smaller and go closer into the triangle. Don't forget to add in 2 small boxes underneath the tier 3. And now we can get in our 2 bags for our bunker. You may need to place in twig to get the first bag perfectly lined up with the drop down chute. And I'm sure you guys get the idea of how I'm going to do the loot rooms down here, so we'll skip through that again. However, don't forget you guys can add in small boxes on these sides by flipping the tier 3 again backwards against the wall. That way you can fit in those last 2 small boxes, add in your reinforced glass window, and the base is pretty much finished. For those of you who don't know how to seal off this bunker, we're going to place in a twig half wall, then a twig triangle, and upgrade it to HQM. We can then climb up the ladder hatch, and finally close both hatches the same way I do in the video. You guys can then go offline safely knowing that your base is secure. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.